Hello everyone, I'm Dick Wolf with the County Buzz. We've got a special program today. I'll be talking with two members of the Franklin County Education Association, Anna Mullin, who's the new president, and Michael Franklin, who's the vice president. They're going to tell us some interesting things about education in Franklin County and maybe beyond. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Carol Fulmer with Interlocal Solid Waste Authority. Come out on April the 2nd to our Household Hazardous Waste event from 8 until 1 at Franklin County Solid Waste Management. Bring all of your household hazardous waste, which is anything corrosive, flammable, toxic, or reactive, used in your home, car, truck, garden, and lawn.
Whatever your shipping needs, Mr. Postman is where you want to go. Convenient across from the post office in Winchester. Take your packages or bring the item unpacked and they'll carefully box it and send it off for safe delivery. Anywhere. Yes, in or out of the USA, Mr. Postman can get it there quickly. There's more. Get a box number with a street address. Start a background check with safe and secure fingerprinting. Oh wait, forgot that card to go with that present? Not a problem. A good selection of cards, funny, faithful, and family. Mr. Postman, across from the post office, Winchester.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the County Buzz, and I'm here with Anna Mullin. Hello Anna.
Hi Dick.
President of the Franklin County Education Association.
Yes,
Michael Franklin.
Yes, sir.
Yes sir, and you're both teachers here at Franklin County High School?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I teach Spanish 1 and 2.
And I teach geometry.
Oh, well that's a good mix.
Both sides of the brain.
Yeah, well, we read a lot about education. I won't go into math yet because that's something that I really want to do want to talk about. But over the past several years, there were all kinds of terrible things being said about No Child Left Behind, terrible things being said about Common Core. As teachers with the Franklin County Education Association, what are we talking about?
I think some of the problems with No Child Left Behind were that it was a national mandate for schools to reach a level of excellence in the school system that was impossible to reach. In a lot of schools, if you had 98% students graduating, which is a fantastic number, No Child Left Behind said you needed to get to 99 next year. And it's a constant push of improvement on all your students, which teachers do every day, but it wasn't funded. It was an unfunded mandate. So it made the continued excellence nearly impossible.
All right.
Well, and my concern with that, obviously I have concerns with the federal mandate on states and education anyway. I think that it needs to be handled as locally as possible. But that mandate, that graduation rate requirement, what's happened with that? Schools are working so hard to make that happen, and Tennessee has one of the best graduation rates in the nation. This county's done a really good job with that particularly. But what happens is there's a lot of pressure for people to graduate when possibly they don't have the skills needed to graduate. So what the employers are seeing and coming back and saying to the school is these kids aren't prepared to work. Now some of them obviously are. But, when we were in school, if you didn't meet the criteria, you didn't do the work, you did not graduate. And now I think that the teachers are really kind of under the gun. I think administrators are under the gun to make sure that graduation rate is good. And sometimes I think that results in shoving people through that maybe did not have the skill set to graduate from high school. And I think that the kids would perform better if they knew that there was that hanging out there.
There are consequences.
There are consequences to this. And so I think that that mandate has kind of caused a little bit of a decline in secondary education.
Because what happens is if you don't meet those requirements after a year or two, the federal government was going in and intervening in the schools on the federal level and then closing a lot of schools.
And this was No Child Left Behind.
This is No Child Left Behind.
Yeah.
Okay.
So schools don't want to get closed when Franklin County High School is one of the number one employers in the county, and certainly the Board of Education is, and can't handle something like that.
Yeah, when we go to do things, we usually go out and hire an expert, bring them in, they tell us what to put on our lawn to make it green and things like that. If we're trying to educate a child, what went wrong with getting a bunch of really heavy-duty thinkers together in Washington and saying, well, we need this No Child Left Behind deal? That sounded like a good idea to someone.
Well, heavy-duty thinkers is one thing, but I think you need heavy-duty teachers.
Definitely need.
Okay. And that's where we're coming back to,
Yeah.
is with a local like the Franklin County Education Association represents the teachers' interests. So Common Core is with us now. And sometimes I think that that's a political thing, and then sometimes I'm not sure because I see teachers railing against it as well. So what is Common Core?
Well,
You better take this one.
well, this is a gray area for me as well, and I'm not sure the new, I believe it's the ESSA has replaced the No Child Left Behind, and I don't know that we've officially adopted Common Core as a state, but what we have are Common Core style standards. So it basically is, maybe without the title. I think the idea behind it is great. It's about understanding how things work. Like I'm teaching right triangle trigonometry right now.
Okay.
So when I was in high school, here are the formulas, you're going to memorize them, and this is how you solve it. And I memorized them. So the idea behind Common Core is teach them why it works and how it works so they have a better basis for understanding it. So that's great in theory. The problem is I think we need balance in education. I think all teachers will agree with you that we do need to do a lot of those things with our kids, and we need to do a better job of providing them the big picture behind concepts and not just having them spit out and regurgitate. The problem is you still need a balance of memorization. You need skill and drill, and some of the Common Core stuff is all about coming up with 50 different ways. If you see some of the stuff that's out there right now on just solving addition and subtraction problems for the little kids, it's crazy. I mean,
That you couldn't just memorize the answer.
exactly, or you could have just carried and subtracted and you're done with it.
I mean, these are the examples we see on Facebook.
Right.
You
And
they're pretty
32
accurate.
plus 50 is this, and then here's the Common Core method, and
Yes.
it's just a stream of figures
Right.
and tens.
And that's not just Facebook. I mean, we have teachers with elementary age students in this building. We talk about it at lunch all the time. I mean, I'm very grateful that my kids are done with the elementary school work. My youngest child is a sophomore here now, and I'm very thankful that he learned what he needed prior to this, because it's very, very, very confusing for
Now,
these kids.
as members of the Franklin County Education Association, this is a union organization, so you
is.
represent teachers. Do you have a seat at the table with Dr. Lonis and talk with her about these issues about Common Core and the like, or is this the venue that a teacher would use to talk to the administration?
This is probably the most effective venue
Yes.
because we have over 200 members. Over 200.
Right around 200, yeah.
Okay, right around 200 teacher members throughout the county, and I guess it's okay to say this, Dr. Lonis joined TEA or FCEA as soon as she moved here, which was a big sign to all of us that the school board was going to not start playing ball with us, but at least start participating in more
Yeah,
conversations.
well, it's good to know what the teachers are going. Number one, just at the last meeting, Dr. Lotus announced that you're not going to get your 4% raise this year. It's going to be 1%. Is that an issue that the Education Association takes back to its members and say, well, wait a minute, we want 2% or we want our 4%? How do you negotiate that?
Well, she actually, we had a little bit of a heads up. She does meet with us, and outside of being a member of FCEA, Dr. Lonis has agreed to meet with our FCEA leadership team, and we meet every month or two to discuss with concerns with her, things that we're hearing from teachers in the county. And she will share with us where things are at the state level. And so sometimes we have a little bit of a heads up. And so she did have that information prior to it being presented at the board meeting, and we were able to discuss it. And we really appreciate, even though we're not pleased with what the funding is from the state, we really like the fact that she's very transparent with what's going on. We feel like, our district leadership is on our side and understands what our concerns are, and that they're working with us and telling us, here's what's going to happen. It doesn't look like we're going to get this amount of money. From the negotiation side, we actually are working on a memorandum of understanding right now. Are you familiar with the collaborative conferencing?
No, I'm going to say no.
Collective bargaining?
Yeah, right.
We're actually, Franklin County educators are teaching under no contract right now, which is, you don't know what your expectations are except for come to work every day.
Yeah.
And the contract has expired, so we're working on toward a new one.
We are, and we've been in this process for about a year now. So what we are working on is we can't actually call it a contract, but when we create this document, it will be called a memorandum of understanding, and we can negotiate for things like salary, grievance procedures, insurance, fringe benefits, working conditions. That's a big one. And I think this is a nice place to work, but I think a lot of teachers don't realize, and certainly the people in the community, what it means when you are working. You're really kind of working without a net. We have nice people in charge of us, and Dr. Lonis is a great administrator, and I'm sure she wouldn't do this, but it would probably be within her rights to say, okay, well, you're going to come to work at 7 o'clock and leave at 4. I mean, when you don't have anything in writing that protects you, that's a problem.
So when you're out there and in these conversations and negotiations and with Dr. Lonis, and so you ask for this and you get 2/3 of it, and you ask for that and you get all of it. Do those things that you have brought in as benefits or extras for the teachers, do they apply to all teachers, even non-members?
They will apply to everyone.
Okay.
Yes. Even if a teacher isn't a member, FCEA is working on behalf of every teacher in the county.
Okay. And so what? And you mentioned feedback. You get feedback obviously from FCEA members, but what about non-FCEA members? Do they come to you as well, or?
I don't get a lot of non-FCEA members ask me questions about policies or changes in the MOU.
In the ML?
MOU,
Yes.
modicum of understanding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a memorandum, and we find that most of the teachers who are not involved in FCEA,
Are just not involved.
they're just not involved, and I believe that they're operating under the premise that it'll all be fine, it's all good, everything's been fine so far, and that might be the case, but I just think it's important for people to realize that, there are people that are going to bat for you and trying to make sure that you get a raise someplace along the line and that your working conditions are safe. And
Well, the nearly 200 members that you spoke of, I worked very briefly with Dr. Edmonds, and I was his representative at the FCEA. He did not become a member. And I don't think there were that many members back in the mid-2000s. So you've had some growth.
we have it a little bit. I think they went through a stagnant phase, and I'm actually fairly new. I've been a member for a year, a little over a year. And I think enrollment had really dropped off. The dues went up a little bit, and teachers don't make very much money, so that's a viable concern. But recently we have seen, we've gotten some new teachers that come in, and it's obviously very helpful when your director of schools supports and is a member and says, this is a good thing, and I encourage you all to be a part of this.
Okay, well, we're talking with Anna and Michael from the Franklin County Education Association. We'll be back with more right after this.
When it comes to furniture, appliances, electronics, and yard equipment, start with a company you can trust. Badcock Home Furniture and More in Winchester has spent years faithfully serving their community and their customers. Badcock Furniture has always been ahead of the rest when it comes to brand name furniture, appliances, and electronics. That's why Badcock is the best. Badcock continues to renovate their store plan with new top-of-the-line quality products that fit your taste and budget and make your life at home easier than ever. Upgrade your appliances today. Ranges, freezers, refrigerators, microwaves, vacuums, and stay comfortable through the years with air conditioners and infrared quartz fireplace heaters in several sizes and designs. Live healthy and sleep better with iComfort Sleep Systems by Serta, plus sleep accessories, support systems, and foundations from other major brands. Badcock carries state-of-the-art entertainment equipment, TVs, DVD players, home theaters, computers, tablets, printers, and more, and financing is available. Visit Gregor K. Gillum and the staff at Badcock Home Furniture and More today. 405 Bypass Road in Winchester. Call 931-962-4991. We make it easy. We deliver. Badcock Home Furniture and More in Winchester.
Welcome back, everyone, to our continued conversation with Anna Mullin of the Franklin County Education Association and Michael Franklin. So we've learned a lot about teachers. The other thing we see a lot of on the internet is testing. Oh, they don't like this kind of testing, and Tennessee apparently had a big fail on one of their
Major
things.
fail.
So, and a lot of this is done through private corporations, and we're hearing about that too.
Right.
The money's leaving the public school system and going into a private arena that's providing a service that I guess we used to provide. So what is that about?
Well, you want to take this one, or you want me to go?
We'll go.
We have lots to say about this.
Uh-oh. Well, I'll take a little break. I'll be back when you're done.
I think there's in government, the government officials have to use contracts to figure out where money is distributed. So that's one problem. But yeah, we do get the feeling that corporations are getting more money than
Yeah.
teachers are being allowed.
Well-
Even not even in just in paychecks, but as far as the school system goes. And then you see a school system paying to be a part of a testing program that you don't know what the tests are. You can't review any questions beforehand. You don't know when you're going to get your feedback. You don't know if it's going to be tied to your job or not. And I always think about my students' perspective. Every couple of years, things change. There's we've got 10 ready now. Before it was
It was TCAP.
TCAP before that, and 5 years before that, it was something different. I think about it from the student perspective that we're always trying something different. We can't just stick with what the students really need, which is continuity. They just need a teacher to come in and stick with them on a daily basis and make sure they get to where they're supposed to be, instead of having to demonstrate that at some arbitrary level, is what I think. I think a lot of teachers look at the testing from that perspective.
Well, I think from a money standpoint, I think most everybody understands that the governor has allocated a lot of money toward education this year. And if you look at that amount of money, the amount of money, 100 and something million toward teacher raises, that's what it's supposed to go to, is almost the same amount of money that was spent on testing in Tennessee this year. And that's ludicrous to me. That's absolutely crazy to me that we would funnel that kind of money into private corporations to test our children repeatedly. And it's not just the money, it's all the time they're out of class and they're out of instruction so they can, well, I would say be on a computer, but now bubble in a test, because that was a waste of money.
4 weeks a year.
Yeah, and I think people also don't realize that the money, all that money that went toward that, when the computer systems crashed and we had to go paper pencil, or local agencies are having to funnel out more money to pay for some of those things.
Because you had to pay for the failed.
Well, the state, I guess, provided the paper pencil test, but the elementary school kids, there was a calculator provided on the computer, so some of these districts had to come up with a special calculator to use. I mean, it's crazy. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of money.
And the students from the beginning of, I guess, the middle of the 2014-2015 school year were being teachers and students both were being told it's time to start training on these Chromebooks. It's time to start training, taking tests, using different computer programs. And we made it through the first round of testing last November.
It was in the fall.
It's in the fall. I tried to block it out of my memory. But we trained on it, and I think we were pretty successful in the trial, but then there was one failure on one day, and they canceled it statewide. And
Well, I think what happened, it worked at the high school level, and that the only people testing in the fall were the schools on a block, which would be a few high
Right.
schools. So that wasn't nearly the hit on the networks. So when the elementary schools came into test, it was all the elementary schools across the state, and that just, and I don't know about the middle school testing window. It might have been elementary and middle school, but they could not handle the numbers.
What do you, as teachers, how do your students react to the stories that you're telling me of, well, I thought I was going to take this, well, I don't know what the test score is, or how are they reacting? What are you hearing?
to be frank, I think they have almost been conditioned not to react. I think they have maybe been conditioned to just
Just
follow
go
along
with
with
it.
the program because
Yeah.
they know it's going to be something different before they graduate, possibly.
Yeah.
Well, these sound like serious problems, and they also sound like they're statewide problems. So let's talk for a minute. This is a Franklin County Education Association.
Right.
We've got 95 counties. We've got 113 school districts, or something like that. So is the Franklin County Education part of a bigger organization to deal with some of these things at the General Assembly level?
Yes, we're part of Tennessee Education Association,
Okay.
TEA, and they lobby for us and for all the locals in the General Assembly, and they do a very good job. I mean, they are really, I think, the impetus behind the change to tying. Well, this year they're not going to be able to tie teacher evaluations to testing because of all the issues with that, and they've been pushing for that for a while. And I think that there will be an attempt made by the General Assembly to go ahead and tie that back to our evaluation, but I think TEA will eventually be able to get rid of that. I think that people have good ideas. The thought is, I'm going to make this teacher do her best job by tying it to her evaluation, and maybe for some school districts a paycheck. But the problem is we have no control over who steps foot in our classrooms. And it is crazy to think that my job performance is going to be evaluated on, these students.
By some corporation in Utah.
Yeah, exactly. And the
It's
other
not going
thing
to let
is,
us look at the test beforehand.
well,
Yeah.
and I heard stories about people grading the writing assessments that were, they were getting them on those,
Craigslist.
yeah, Craigslist for $10 an hour to sit and score writing assessments. And that makes no sense to me. None at all. I just think people don't realize where their tax dollars are going in all this.
Well, let's keep talking about money. The other thing we see, and I keep referring to Facebook, of course, that's where our company is based, but the teachers that not only are they sort of not paid well, but they're all the time dunning their husband and their family members, and their kids are going out and selling candy bars because we need paper or we need pencils or we need something. Why isn't our school system providing all of the resources you need to teach these kids, including whatever it is that you buy with outside money?
Well, it's just a funding issue. Tennessee ranks 46th in the nation in per pupil spending. It's 46 or 47, I think 46. And that means that even our surrounding states pay more than Tennessee. I mean, we're talking, I'm pretty sure Kentucky, I know Alabama and Georgia. And I mean, think about that.
Yeah, I think about that. We've got a lot of viewers in Alabama, and their kids are getting more from their state than Tennessee kids are getting from our state.
Yes.
Is that picture changing? Is the Tennessee Education Association telling you that okay, that's going to change next year
Well,
or 5 years from now?
That's their primary focus. I recently went to the TEA road trip at Warren County Middle School. And that's basically the locals in that vicinity meet with TEA, and they talked about their major push, and it is teachers' evaluations not being tied to testing, and it's funding. It is funding.
Basic funding.
Yeah, just basic funding, and it is not just about teacher salary. Now, we would all like to make more money, and I think most people would agree that teachers are underpaid professionals, but we're talking about funding for kids. We don't have enough money to do what we need to do.
The county commission, and I've been to many of the meetings over the years, and I've seen people that come into politics and say, well, I'm going to run for county commissioner and I'm going to change things because I'm going to cut waste and I'm going to cut spending and I'm not going to raise your taxes. That's the mantra that gets people elected. So how are we going to get more funding for schools if that's the criteria by which we elect our officials?
We got to go with the who mindset. I won't be fooled again. But I think we've got to make a countywide push. I mean, every business out there should be pushing education and pushing our county commissioners and the school board into doing everything we can for this county. I moved from Alabama, and I've been teaching for 8 years before I came here, and this is Franklin County High School is the best school I've taught in, but we still got a long way to go. And I hear a lot of negativity from the community just about the school, and students pick up on that, and so do the people who are making decisions. And if you think from a negative perspective about education, I think we're setting ourselves up for failure. We've got to keep our minds high on our priorities, which is making sure no child's left behind, but cater to that individual and not just a mass of individuals.
You brought up something really interesting I want to follow up on. You said this is the best school that you've ever worked at. Tell us what's good about this school from an outsider's perspective.
From an outsider's perspective, I think Greg Mantooth does a great job as principal. I think he has a hands-off policy with the teachers. He trusts his teachers to do their jobs. And with Dr. Lonas coming in, and a lot more accountability has been brought in with her arrival. But I think Greg Mantooth is just a nice guy. He supports his teachers, and he's got all of our backs 100%.
Yeah. Do you connect with the students in any way as an FCEA, other than as teachers? Do you connect with them as an organization that advocates for better teaching conditions, better school conditions, more supplies, those kinds of things? Are they aware of you?
I don't think so. I have a nice sign on my door out there. And to be frank with you, I'm spending so much time just trying to teach math and help them with all the other stuff
Right.
that
Oh, yeah, no time
it's
for.
not anything
No
that,
time for this.
No.
Well, in the Spanish department, our textbooks will be 10 years old by the time we get a renewal on those, and they're pretty dated and wearing down. And I just complimented Mr. Mantooth, but he's well aware of that also.
Well, and on the subject of textbooks, this is 2016.
This is
My newspaper is right here.
right.
Well,
So what about textbooks? Are we going to still be carrying around these textbooks another 20 years, or when is it going to get hip?
well, I'm actually on the textbook committee for the school, and we do a lot of stuff online. If you look in that cart over there, that's my Chromebook cart, and most kids either have a Chromebook, all freshmen and sophomores, or a lot of us have classroom sets for our kids to use. So a lot of our material the kids can do online. At this point, we're not completely digital, but I do see that as the direction we're headed, and I feel like, I know Dr. Lonis would really like to see us continue to move in that direction.
Yep.
So she really likes
And I
the
see the
technology.
next textbook for Spanish being online or through a digital format of some
Well,
sort.
we have our juniors this coming year should have Chromebooks, so it'll be rolled out to our ninth graders. So we'll have everybody except the seniors, if they come up with more money in the budget. And then the following year, all students at the school would have a Chromebook or whatever they would choose to use for their technology.
Right.
All right, well, I want to thank you very much for this. This has been a great conversation. I think we ought to talk again, soon about these kinds of issues.
That'd be great.
Get
Thank you.
more crayons for teachers and whatever necessary.
I
Sounds
like
good to
colored
me.
pencils.
Color
I'm a
pen.
color pencil guy.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much
Thank you.
for being here. Thank you for watching. You can pick us up either on Comcast Channel 3 through the week, or you can go to Facebook or YouTube to the Franklin County Buzz anytime you want to watch. All of our stuff is there. Thanks for watching.